Hey guys, it's Calvin with 5 Academy. Today we're breaking down 5 of the hardest ACT English questions. These are the ones that trick the most students. Transitions, punctuation, redundancy, author's intent, and verb tense. If you stick around, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot these patterns and answer them quickly on test day. Let's jump into the first one. Transition questions are always tough because every word seems like it could work. Here's how I like to solve them. First, I read the sentences together without looking at the answer choices. The town planned a parade for Saturday. The forecast predicted heavy storms. So what's happening? The first idea is about planning a parade, and the second is about storms coming. That feels like a conflict, like the two ideas don't go together smoothly. Now, let's check the answers one by one. Therefore, does this make sense? The town planned a parade. Therefore, the forecast predicted storms. No, that doesn't work. The parade can't cause the storms. It's nature. However, the town planned a parade. However, the forecast predicted storms. Yeah, that works because it shows the contrast. It's not saying that the town is causing it, so it's contrasting between. Likewise, the town planned a parade. Likewise, the forecast predicted storms. That just doesn't make sense either. Storms aren't like planning a parade. They're not planning a parade. As a result, the town planned a parade. As a result, the forecast predicted storms. Again, no, the storms weren't the result of planning a parade. So that leaves us with the only option that makes sense, and that's however. That's why on transition questions, I like to first see how the sentences connect on their own and then test each answer. That way you don't fall for something that sounds good but doesn't actually fit. All right, next is a punctuation question. Now, punctuation questions trip people up because we usually go by what sounds right. The ACT doesn't care about that. It only cares about sentence structure. So let's test it. The first half. Many students enjoy studying history. That is a complete sentence or otherwise known as an independent clause. The second half. They find connections to the present. That's also a complete sentence or also independent clause. That means we're connecting two independent clauses. Now, if you don't know about your grammar rules or independent clauses, dependent clauses, commas, punctuation, I would suggest going to our channel and watching one of the many videos we have about it. That will seriously help you. I'm just kind of going to go over it quickly here by going through the answers. So let's look at choice A. Choice A is a comma. A comma by itself can't join two full sentences. That would be a comma splice, and that means it's wrong. Choice B, it's a semicolon. That works perfectly because a semicolon acts like a period. Now, typically it's used when the independent clause following the independent clause relates to it. So it can't just be like many students enjoy studying history, and then you can't just say, I like to watch movies. Those are two completely different things. You would need a period. Now, choice C is a colon. A colon can only be used if the second sentence explains or lists something about the first. That's not the case here, so C is wrong. Choice D, no punctuation. No punctuation does not work here. We have to have punctuation between two independent clauses or else it's a run-on, and that is not grammatical. So the correct answer is B, a semicolon. So the takeaway here is always check if both sides are full sentences. If they are, you need a semicolon or a period. If one side isn't complete, you'll use a comma or nothing at all. All right, let's look at redundancy, or also known as wordiness. These are the easiest points on the ACT if you know the trick, but they're also the ones where people overthink and second-guess themselves. Here's the sentence. The author concluded the article with a final conclusion about the dangers of smoking. Right away, you should notice something strange. The words final conclusion. Do we really need both of those? By definition, a conclusion is already final. You can't have a temporary conclusion, so that phrase is redundant. Now, let's go through the answer choices one at a time. Choice A, final conclusion. That's the original, and we already said it's repetitive. Not the best choice. Choice B, conclusion. That gets rid of the extra word. It's simple and clear. This one looks good. Choice C, concluding conclusion. That is just nonsense. You're repeating the same root word. Definitely wrong. Choice D, Conclusive conclusion. Again, over the top. You can immediately tell. It's just repetitive, awkward. It doesn't sound right. So the correct answer is B, just conclusion. And here's the key lesson. On the ACT, longer answers are almost never better. Students sometimes think the fancy-sounding answer must be right, but the ACT is designed to reward the shortest, clear option. If two answers mean the same thing, always pick the one with fewer words. So, whenever you see a redundancy or wordiness question, don't overthink it. Ask yourself, what's the clearest, simplest version that gets the point across? That's almost always the answer. Okay, let's talk about one of the strangest question types in ACT English, author's intent, also called add or delete. At first glance, these feel subjective, like they're asking for your opinion on whether something sounds good. But the ACT never tests your opinion. There's one simple rule. If the sentence is relevant and adds new information, you keep it. If it's off topic or repetitive, you don't. So let's check out the example. The paragraph says, cities around the world are struggling to manage growing amounts of waste. Some communities have started composting programs to cut down on food waste. Others have built new recycling facilities to handle plastics and paper. These efforts help reduce landfill use and protect the environment. Now here's the new sentence. This demonstrates the importance of recycling and protecting the environment. Does this connect? Absolutely. Recycling is already mentioned in the paragraph, and the new sentence reinforces the point that it's important. It doesn't go off topic, and it doesn't distract from the main idea. Let's test the answers one by one. A, yes, because it provides relevant support for the discussion of waste management. I would say this is probably the correct answer. So let's move on to B. B, yes, because it introduces an unrelated idea. Introducing an unrelated idea would not mean yes, it would mean no. It's false. It's not introducing something random like transportation or education. It's directly about recycling. C says no, because it distracts. Definitely not true. It's consistent with the main idea. D also says no, but because it repeats. That's tricky, but it's not word for word repetition. It adds emphasis, which is different. So the correct answer is A. Here's the takeaway. Whenever you see an add or delete question, don't overthink it. And don't make it about your personal preference. Just ask, does this sentence clearly support the topic? If yes, keep it. If it's off topic or repetitive, cut it. That's the whole game. All right, the last tough question type is verb tense consistency. These are tricky because every answer can look fine if you just read it on its own. But the ACT isn't asking what sounds nice, it's asking if the verbs actually match. Here's the sentence. The explorers discovered new routes through the mountains and were mapping the terrain for future travelers. Focus on the second verb, were mapping. That's past tense. So the first verb has to match it. Now let's check the answer choices. Choice A, no change. So discover. That's present tense. It does not match were mapping. It's wrong. Choice B, discovered. Now that is past tense. So now both verbs are in the past. That works. Perfect. Choice C, are discovering. That's present progressive. Still does not match the past tense. It is wrong. Choice D, will discover. That is future tense, not past tense. Again, it does not match. So the only correct option is B, discovered. And here's the key takeaway. You don't need to memorize every tense chart. Just match the verbs around the underline. If the rest of the sentence or paragraph is past tense, keep it past. If it's present, keep it present. Consistency is what the ACT is looking for. Check out 5 Academy. We have tons of these practice problems, tons of English, math, science, reading mastery problems to really help you master the content. We have tons of practice tests, etc., etc. Check us out. Check out our channel. Tons of good videos on there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll try to answer.